Hey guys, we're going to talk about this concept called flow. Now, what is flow? Well, flow is basically the state of complete absorption in your task at hand. So, have you ever been in the zone? Well, I would assimilate flow with being in the zone. So, it's basically that state where, if you're doing homework, you're really into it, you're doing really well, nothing's distracting you, and you're completely absorbed in that homework. You get a lot done, and it's amazing how you can't even remember what time it is. Time's going by so fast, and you're actually content in that state. Homework actually becomes fun. Well, that state is called flow. Now, there's a direct correlation between flow and happiness. The author of the book Flow, Mihaly, and then I'm not going to even try to pronounce his last name because it's so long and it's pretty crazy. He wrote an amazing book. I'd really encourage you to read the book and watch his TED Talk as well. And he talks about this state called flow. And there's a direct correlation between happiness and flow. When you're in this state, if you've ever been in this state, ever been in the zone, you know that you are very content while you're in that state. You may not even recognize it, but after you're done with that, whatever task you're doing, you feel really good about it. You've gotten a lot done and you feel really, really good. And so he correlates happiness with flow and says that if you want to have happiness in your life, you need to get into the flow state as much as possible. So we're going to talk about flow a lot in this course because it has a direct correlation with happiness. And a lot of the time in games, people are playing games to get into this state of flow. Whether they recognize it or not, they're getting into this state called flow. So that's why they actually have fun when they're playing the game. So there's actually some requirements to get into flow, okay? So it's not as easy as it sounds. You can't just get into this state whenever you want. You actually need a balance between boredom and anxiety, okay? A balance between skill and difficulty. The task at hand can't be too boring, all right? If it's too boring, you're not going to concentrate, you're not going to be absorbed in your task, and you're basically not going to get into this state. If you have too much anxiety, if it's too hard, you're not going to get into this state as well. So you need the perfect balance of boredom and anxiety, skill and difficulty to get into this state. So flow during sports, well, if you've ever played a sport, which I'm sure you have, you've been in a state of flow. You're fully immersed in the activity, okay? It's this state where you don't even realize that you are thinking. Your ego is gone, the time is dilated, you forget about the sense of time, and you're basically in this activity, you're in this sport, and when you're done, or even while you're doing it, you feel complete contentment. All right, so I feel it a lot when I surf, when I rock climb, especially when I surf. I really get in this state of flow. I realize that the reason I love surfing so much isn't necessarily because I love the thrill of, dropping into a wave, but I love the feeling, the state I'm in the whole time that I'm surfing. And I realized I'm in this state of flow, and that's the reason why I like surfing. I'm very immersed in what I'm doing. I'm always focused. My thoughts don't drift, and I'm always in this state of contentment where I don't even realize about the rest of my life, what's going on, and I basically forget about everything else. So you get this state when you work as well. When I go to a coffee shop and I drink some tea and I sit down and work, I get into this state of flow and I work really, really well. I get so much done, and it's crazy how I can be in this state 1 second and then the other second I'm not in the state, and I can see the difference because I'm working at a lot faster, more efficient rate. So what does flow feel like? Well, the number one thing when you're in flow is you're completely focused, all right? Number two is inner clarity. Number three is time dilation. You forget about time. Four, you feel a sense of control. Number five is loss of self-awareness. And number six is contentment. So when you're in this state of flow, you feel all of these things and a lot more. This is just some of the things that really pop out when you're in this state. So how do you get into flow? Well, the number one thing is your tasks need to be clear and simple. Okay. Number two is immediate feedback. Three is complete focus. And four is a balance between skill and difficulty. All right. If you have four of these down, you can get into this state of flow much easier. So, what we're going to talk about next is we're going to talk about how this state of flow really affects you, especially when you're playing a game. So, it's always good to be in this state of flow in your whole life, okay? If you want to be happy, if you want to get a lot of things done, if you want to be productive, you want to be in this state of flow as much as you can. So, we're going to talk about how game developers try to get their users into this state of flow and how you can do that to really create successful applications that people love.